Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today we are playing the Sicilian against the move e4. Very excited to be playing the Sicilian these days, a much more mature opening. Unfortunately, immediately devolving from any illusion of maturity by just going for this hyper-accelerated pterodactyl line instead of anything particularly respected amongst good chess players. But we can play knight c6 here. Presumably our opponent goes for d4. The bishop on c4 is an interesting addition to the position, namely because I believe I once saw maybe a Marn Hambleton or someone. I think so. I like a Marn Hambleton, by the way. For those of you not familiar, I'm sure you are, but you should watch him play bullet chess. It's a beautiful sight. Anyway, I believe that the bishop on c4 can be something from which to garner tempo with maybe an a6 b5 expansion, maybe e6 d5, although maybe against the move g6 the bishop's not so badly placed here because e6 doesn't pair so well with g6, because maybe we weaken all these dark squares. Not entirely sure, but better safe than sorry to play d6 is my approach here. If they castle, which I think is potentially likely, I hope they don't play h3, because I would really like to play bishop g4. Say we see castles, bishop g4, then h3, and we could take the knight, queen takes, knight e5, hit the queen, hit the bishop, and defend the mate. They then move the queen back. We get to take the bishop and double some pawns here. That could be an interesting way to maybe create a target to go after. Instead they play queen b3. Wow. Okay, so aggressive, extremely aggressive. I like it, I respect it. Fair play to my opponent here, although I guess we might have to play e6. What are we going to do about this? Knight h6 clearly just loses to bishop takes. They remove the defender and then take on f7. We don't have this knight e5 yet because the knight could just take, again, remove the defender and they take on f7. We might be forced to play e6, which again isn't going to be necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it does generally concern me to play e6 and g6 if our opponent can castle queenside and then go for some kind of big attack here and really go for a nice opposite side castling pawn storm type situation. I mean, what options do we have if not e6? Because I'm basically saying nothing. That's okay though. We'll play e6. I mean, not the most comfortable thing, because I would really rather get this bishop out first before doing that. However, these are now very much in forking range of my pony, and if I can get rid of that light squared bishop, I'm pretty happy about that. So the knight hops in here. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to sack? I mean, the bishop holds, that's just not going to work. Knight a5, queen a4, bishop d7. This knight is hell. Yeah, we're doing this. Get out of my face. This knight is stupidly placed here. They don't have an attack. They're trying to go in too hard with these pieces when we've built up a nice brittle pawn structure to make sure it's not possible. We can now play bishop d7, hit the queen, the knight's held, the bishop's hit as well. And in terms of remaining in defense of the bishop, I do not see how the queen does so. They can move the bishop like that though. That was a pretty moronic oversight not to at least notice. Now threatening to take here, and then take the knight. So it would seem that I'm at least in some part a fool for having gone for this. How did I not see bishop b? That is so stupid. But actually, really and truly, no one cares, because we usually play knight c6, and I don't think the pressure here is really very much felt. I mean, we're going to play a6 and b5 probably. Again, these pieces over here just seem to be pieces from which we can garner some tempo for a nice queenside expansion. And we could look at just knight e7, kingside castles, and then really try and play on the queen side, maybe going for b4 at some point. But they want my d pawn, which makes sense, of course. I could play... Wait, hold on. I could play e5. They have to move their bishop. Now, e5 does concede a big hold on d5. It also means the bishop c4 and then queen b3 might open back up as a threat. However, what I'm thinking is that if e5 and you move your bishop here and we play a6 and the bishop goes back, you can play b5, hit the queen, hit the bishop, but then you can take here with check. Okay, pushing e5 probably just makes no sense here. Let's just play a6. Because should you take this, I just get to take this with tempo on the queen. The rook's held. Like, it's probably possible to go for this. In fact, no, it's not, because the bishop's still just tied to this knight. Putting the knight here just made no sense, I think. Because now a6 and b5 does just look like an impending fork, so they are then forced to take. And at that point, we can take with the bishop, tempo on the queen, regain just control of everything here. Now b7's anchored down as well. This is lovely. We've got a bishop pair. They've got some stupidly placed pieces, and at this point, I mean, we could very easily just play h6, or we could just play knight f6, or many pleasant things. Also, I guess d5 is a move. d5 is very much a move that we might want to break it here, and if you take, we have to take here with tempo on the queen. You play c4, we can easily drop back, and then the queen's cut off this diagonal here. I do think d5 is a move that we want to play. I think probably we can delay it slightly, and maybe should prefer to just play knight e7 first. I may regret not just kicking this knight right now, but I feel like if a piece is stupidly placed and not doing anything effective, from kind of first principles, you don't want to just assume that kicking a piece is always a good idea. If it's in a bad position, why do you want to incentivize your opponent to move it from said bad position? I don't know. Obviously, that's not much of a logical maxim that, you know, it's clearly very meritocratic, is that the right word? In the sense that it's going to entirely depend on each situation, and yes, this knight is looking at least in principle at some very scary squares. But while there's nothing to like synergize with it, I don't know, we can just easily castle and get on with our stuff. And if they want to use this knight effectively, they might have to like reroute it, for instance. Or if they bring the knight to f3, I'm thinking we go h6, the knight goes back here, then we go g5, the bishop moves, then we go and fork a pair of knights. That could be huge. So there's a little trap that we can lay for our opponent. You know what? Castling first though. Castling first. If they don't go for this, we're going to play d5. I mean, our pieces are absolutely telling us to play the move d5 here. It's interesting to me that they haven't castled. Likely what they want to do is probably castle this way and then start some more meaningful attack. They have played knight f3. Oh yeah, baby, h6. Get out of my face. g5. Get out of my face. g4. Hello. Now, that is hugely risky. We have a tactic to win some pieces with the fact that they've just whacked all their pieces. And in fact, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome because this knight is misplaced. And there's a tactic from all the stuff I've just been waffling on about. Yeah, now they decide to take here, which I guess has its compensation for sure. Because even if I take with the rook, you can pin the rook. However, we could just take with the king. Big, bold, alpha male king move right there. Finally, he stops letting his queen do all his work for him and steps up to the plate to defend that e-pawn. And in fact, if you can't give a meaningful check straight away, we want to keep the e-pawn and we can play d5. It is such a good idea to take with this king. We take with the rook, all of a sudden they've got 2 pawns for the knight. Also, we can't really play d5 anymore. The queen's infiltrating. This might hang. No. The brave king. The bravest of kings. He's not that brave because actually I'm pretty sure our opponent just has no follow-up. Like, there's no meaningful check here at all. This is like stepping into the octagon with a newborn opponent. It's hardly admirable, even though in the general case, such a feat would be. Okay. I'm going to play d5. I want to stop this diagonal from being exploitable, and then we could even step back, maybe even with tempo. Oh yes, what a beautiful game. And by that I mean chess, not even just the game I'm playing. I don't think they should take here. I'm actually fairly certain they shouldn't, because I could take with bishop with tempo. They play c4, we drop back, and then the bishop's just opened up here. And you really do not want to give me that bishop opened up there, especially when I just have a light square bishop for your pawn. That's a potentially good move though. You want rid of this. If I move though and you take it, we could recapture and then there's still tempo on this bishop. We also have the opportunity to take, but if we do so, we lose our dark squared bishop. This maybe looks a little scarier than it needs to be. So I think just stepping back here, saying, you know what, fair play, you've got rid of this bishop, but actually it's just more trades in a position where I'm up a piece, and now my king is safe. We could even recapture with the pawn to open the b file and really secure d5. Unfortunately, if you take here, we can't take the bishop straight away because of course we lose the queen. But if you do take our bishop, I guess we have 2 options. Take with the knight or the pawn. The knight, pawn takes, and we're doing fantastically there. In fact, yeah, because we take with the knight and we're threatening like e5 probably at some point. We can tuck the king in on h7. I am surprised. Ooh, that's a bold move indeed. Both your bishops for a pawn? I believe our opponent just blundered. It's not a revolutionary thing to say necessarily when your opponent hangs a piece. I'm not really claiming to be Einstein here, but I do think that was a blunder. They now just play g3, which confirms this was a blunder, and also g3 oh, come on. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. I'm taking this knight, baby. I'm taking this knight. You can have my rook. I want to keep this bishop there. We're going to end this game in some serious style. Now let's capture this. Presumably that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll take 2 bishops and a knight for a rook. We could have easily just saved our rook, by the way. But okay, come on, dude. Come on. Why would you do that? We need our queen here. Should I just move the knight? Knight f5. Hear me out. You take queen h4. There is no move stopping mate. Your rooks can't do it. You push the pawn, we just take with check here, and then there's mate. Knight f5 could actually be a brilliant move. Hold on. We're going knight f5. We're going knight f5 because this is just too powerful. It is just too powerful. And if you can't take the knight, then of course, I mean, the main point is that we still just want to play queen h4. This is more just excavating the way to do so. We could have maybe played knight c8, but presumably the knight's going to be a little more effective from over on f5, where I'd imagine there might be abundant tactics to be had in the future. This also could have been unnecessarily stylish, but I mean, you know, we gotta get a bit stylish here. One thing you'll know about this channel is that after I get a material advantage, I do my absolute best to make it as confusing as possible so that I basically don't have an advantage anymore. We're now going to play queen h4, of course. Tempo of mate, you have to play rook g2. You are slowly lining up your pieces for this golden bishop. Absolutely. Oh, there is that move. Sorry, I didn't see that. I wasn't familiar with your game. I don't think I really care, and also, it might even just be helpful to me to open the g-file. Let's move the king across to h7. You go back here. Probably we take like this. I guess I need to be, like, vaguely careful here. If I take like this, there is, you know, things could be looking a little uncomfortable at least. Oh, wait, hold on. Rook G8? Dude, come on. Because you can't take because Queen H2. This is some attacking chess, baby. So you come across with the other rook because now, if I take, you need to be able to recapture and still defend. At this point, we are just trading off the pieces that could potentially do any damage to us here. I think we do just trade. I will just go for this. I don't think there's any reason not to. Although, in fact, it could have been kind of interesting not to. And as long as this queen doesn't have any access points, then we are just golden. We are just cooking. Here now, oh, because if you take this, because the rook doesn't even defend the pawn anymore. And if this, and then they take here, for instance, I could push the pawn. There's no check here. There's no check here. There is queen F7 check. Hold on, would that be a blunder? Here. I push the pawn. Queen F7. It would be. That's just mate. Knight G7 and then there's mate, or King H8 and then there's mate here. So, you know, allowing the queen into here just feels a little unnecessary. Just a little unnecessary, honestly. Although imagine this, then you take the knight, then we push this. Oh, that could be disgusting, actually. You play F3 and we just take. Let's do this. The main reason, by the way, for this is that I want to excavate the way to play knight h4, potentially. And then we just dislodge the rook and mate. Also, we can access f3. But I'm thinking if they take the knight here, then we have the beautiful d4 opening up that bishop and saying, look, there's now 2 checkmate threats. Because the rook would now be completely redundant. I mean, look at this king. Look at the bishops. Oh, this is the kind of chess that I want to be playing. I'm so glad that, where was it? Yeah, I mean, of course, in this position here, when we took the bishop, I kind of thought, is this really going to be a good video anymore? I mean, your opponent just blundering tends not to be that exciting. However, exploiting it from this position, having the opportunity to take the knight, lose the rook, and play with the bishop pair, and then knight f5, and then this, and now coming in like this. Oh yeah, this is content, baby. This is absolutely flipping content. And if here and here, and you like decide to take this, then it's just checkmate, or in fact checkmate more stylishly. Or in fact a mate in 2, probably. Imagine here, check, here. So they move the flipping queen. But at this point, I think you really are running out of options after knight to h4. Massive problem here. It's not looking good. It is not looking good. Queen here, yeah, thought so. I mean, it's not exactly the most romantic way to end things, but I think I'm not seeing anything massively. Instead of just taking here, and just having 2 full bishops in an endgame. You've got to be resigning here, dude. You have to be resigning here. I don't know, are they going to try and flag me? 1 bishop and it, you know, maybe this becomes difficult, but I have genuinely 0 stress right now. We can make pre-moves, just outposting bishops, not allowing there to be any loose pieces, for instance, and not that we even need to make pre-moves, but I'm just doing it for style points at this point. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to freeze up all the pawns, actually, purely for fun. Purely for fun. Just purely for the fun of it. Let's go after this one. I guess they might push. I mean, yeah, okay, or not. Take here. And we can just push. I mean, we could have pushed this ages ago. The analysis is going to tell me I'm an idiot for playing so... Dude, just resign, please. Should we just make more bishops? Hold on. I think we need to tactically stop this with our king and then make more bishops. I think that's the real alpha male play here. Here. I really would rather not stalemate this. But, you know, our opponent is being quite disrespectful by not resigning here. Don't love that. Don't love that. Push. Check. Unfortunately, just made a queen. Check. Oh, check. Check. Dude, how is this not mate? Okay. I guess that's checkmate. I'll be completely honest, if I'd made 5 bishops, I would have stalemated that position so quickly. I know I'm probably going to get some serious hate in the comments for the way I finished that, but we do get the classic totem pole of bishops and queen checkmate. Anyway, let's quickly analyze that game. Okay, so here we are in the analysis. I just played 98% accurately. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there is 1 inaccuracy. Now, 98% has clearly been buffed by the fact that all of those moves were 100% accurate because they all led to forced mates. Clearly not efficient, but nonetheless accurate. So I think that 98% is a bit of a false accuracy reading there. However, that graph is the story. I believe it tails off for you guys if I go into OBS and have a look at what happens. Yeah, it tails off down there at the bottom of the screen. That is then just flat after that point. But it's the story of a brutal game, honestly. Of an advantage claimed and then just exploited and exploited. We played a Sicilian. We played this G6 idea. Our opponent went C3, knight C6, D6 here, Queen b3, I decided to go for e6. They jumped the knight in, which was just a little inaccurate. However, I also went for a little inaccurate idea. The only inaccuracy of the game, by the way, the only non-beautiful move, even though, clearly very beautiful move in my eyes, any inaccuracy always is. Bishop b5, we bring the knight back. They bring their bishop in here, and, these loose pieces that are very just ill-placed, I would say. They weren't really synergizing. We play a6, we then kick the queen, we build a slow advantage, castle here. The knight comes here, and we find h6, because after h6, if they go here, we do have the beautiful idea of g5, as I said, and if they move the bishop, we have g4, forking those pieces, and if they don't move the bishop, then we take it. Probably their best bet would have been to sacrifice, as the engine says here, the couple pawns, but we still have a big advantage there. We can play for d5 and b5. However, this knight being stupidly placed kind of led to this beautiful tactic. They then decided to sack the knight for some compensation, taking with the flipping king. Best move. Taking with the rook was basically as good, but taking with the king, of course, far more stylish and in fact slightly more accurate. They then castle. I decide to play d5. They go for a check. We go back, and then at this point, it's inaccurate because they're already quite losing. We take the bishop, then take the knight here, which was actually the best move, I believe, which is awesome because after they take our rook, we take the pawn. Bishops are just slicing. We knight f5 was, I believe, the best move. It's also liking c4. C4, like, who the hell wants to play c4 here, dude? Knight f5 is so much better. Rook g1, queen here. They take with the check. However, they shouldn't have taken with the check because of the activity we got along that g file. Then we go across. And I shouldn't have traded the rooks. I did have kind of half a feeling that trading the rooks wasn't ideal there because this rook is still immobilized. They can't give a check really because of this mate threat still. So building up further pressure there could have been the right idea, but simplification. Queen h3, best move, by the way, hell yeah. Then we decide to go for the knight here, decide to simplify and get to this beautiful bishop endgame with very little to worry about, of course. Take all the pawns. We have a billion checkmates here. I got a little stressed that if I'd made bishops, I mean, how interesting, or how easy rather, would that have been to stalemate? Promote to a bishop, they moved, and then I promoted to another bishop. They moved, and what I was going to do was just try and line up my bishops, so I would have probably pre-moved like this, or something. I was trying to get to this position, roughly. At this point, if I then start, I don't know, I give a check here, they have one move, and I give a check here. They have one move, and I give a check here. That's checkmate, right? Damn, I guess I should have gone for it. Maybe stalemating would have actually not been that hard. Oh, sorry, stalemating would have been easier to avoid. The checkmate wouldn't have been that hard. Although hopefully you guys can forgive me for wanting to just secure the win. I am trying to get my rating back up on Lichess and promoting to the queen, giving a check, still making a mess of this, but going for the classic totem pole pattern. Just a really famous endgame. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that game. I'm sure it was very entertaining given how dynamic it was, but hopefully there were also some gems of education in there for you slightly lower rated players, or basically anyone lower rated than me, which I assume is almost all of you. Hopefully there were some good takeaways there. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.